Hey everyone, it's Amy and Carissa. Today we have a little video for you on sexuality and trauma. You know, one of the big things that I noticed that came up for me doing this work was my inability to say no. And that affected my life not only sexually, but also in all other aspects.
Yeah, and like we've said before, and we'll continue to say, and it's a basis of a lot of my work, is how we show up for one thing is how we show up for everything. So, sexually, if we have a blockage, then we're probably blocked somewhere else in our career or in our relationships or our friendships or how we treat ourselves. And Chris and I really wanted to do a video on trauma because that word is a buzzword. It's thrown around a lot, it's trending, and which it's great to have this kind of discussion and people be open to it, but I really want to shed some light on what that really looks like. So, trauma, psychological trauma, is actually stored in the body, in our tissues. And a lot of times it's not these extreme situations. For instance, if you were held at gunpoint or somebody held a knife to you or physically harmed you and you thought you were going to die, it's of course situations like that. But it's also the way that we're wired is to release cortisol and adrenaline and these fight or flight hormones into our body. And sometimes it's not a physical threat, like being chased or being hurt. Sometimes it's someone just taking our power from us. Or maybe it's a situation below the age of 5 that we really didn't have a clear understanding, but we internalized it. And that shows up later in our life as an emotional block, of maybe we are unable to express anger in a healthy way, or maybe we really can't allow ourselves to cry and to have that release. There's a lot of different ways that that shows up. And physically, what I love about Tantra and using Tantra as a tool to heal trauma is because trauma shows up in your mind, body, spirit. And whenever we're dealing with energy, sometimes it's confusing and people can misinterpret or actually write things off because it's something that seems so intangible to us. And then mentally, our brains are so smart. They, God bless them, they want to protect us. Our brain wants to keep us safe. It's the gatekeeper to our heart and to our soul. So our brain is just a guard to keep us safe. It is not the ultimate. It is not, it's not the place where we get that connection to life and to love. But it's a protection of our senses to really move in the world and feel safe. And so whenever we have these wirings of distress or trauma or attack, and we store it in our tissues, and we're actually able to pass it down genetically. And as a Tantra practitioner, I see it constantly, whether that's sexual shame or guilt, or maybe you have been abused or raped, it's stuck in your body and in your tissues. And our brain may try to bypass that so we don't have to relive these memories. So I love to start with the body and let the body open up through breath work, through meditation, through visualization. And in Tantra, when we start to move, your body is giving you information and it wants to be healthy. So in Tantra, a lot of the tools that we use, whether that's ritual, whether that is chanting, whether that is meditation, visualization, what we're doing is physically switching from our left brain, which is the masculine, it's the formulaic, it's the structured side of our brain that we love to live in our society. And we're so conditioned to just staying in our left brain because that's what's required in most of our jobs. And really being able to switch to our right brain and to find the right brain, which is experience, it's ecstasy, it's creation. But what I love is because when you get used to being in that right state of your mind, different hormones like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin are released into your system, and you can actually train your body to want to feel good. And over time, doing these practices, and that's why it's so important to start a practice, is because your body becomes addicted to feeling good and to being healthy instead of being in stress and being in de-stress. And what I love is also in this right brain, trauma does not exist. So there's this dissonance happening between your mind and your body, which are completely connected. And what's happening is your traumas, whether that comes up as a physical pain, an emotional pain, if it comes out as a memory, and these things start to come to the surface because when you're in your right brain, trauma does not exist. So your body automatically goes into that healing mode and you start to purge. And that's why Tantra is such a beautiful tool to heal these events, or to heal something maybe that was passed down genetically to you. And it shows up as the way that we treat ourselves, our health, having a lifestyle that makes us happy and feeling like we deserve to be happy. And what I love about Tantra is not only is it bringing all this trauma to the surface, the Shakti energy, the sexual energy, orgasmic energy, it's healing energy. And you can harness this to clear out that trauma and to really cotter that wound that's in your body and in your psyche and your emotions and in your energy. And you have such a powerful story, and I'm so honored to know you and to know your story, and I know that it's going to help a ton of people.
Yeah. So very similar to what Amy was talking about, I kind of got this wiring, this pattern of, from an abusive relationship that was physically and sexually abusive, my inability to say no. And it wasn't just the inability to say no, a deeper connection happened that was, if I say no, I'm not going to receive love, whether that's physical love, whether that's emotional love. And it showed up in my body, and I wasn't able to have an orgasm for a very, very long time because this memory was stored in my body that if I ever said no, that I wouldn't receive love. So I would say yes, and yes to all sorts of things. Again, not only sexually, but just in my life, my boundaries became almost non-existent. And I would let people do or say or coerce me into meetings or projects or things that weren't really serving me. And through Tantra, through really simple yet powerful breath work, I was able to reestablish that connection with myself and pause when I make decisions. If I lean in, does my body want this? Do I want this? Is this going to serve me or serve people around me that I love? And I could just feel this pull of my body going gently forward, or I don't think this is right for me, or I'm not feeling really safe, or this feels really uncomfortable. Before, I would squash all of that down and I just wouldn't listen. I would always say yes. And so saying no and finding those patterns, whatever it might not be saying no, but finding those patterns and finding and figuring out ways to repattern them through Tantra, through breath work, has been so opening for me. And now I'm in a really safe relationship where I can say no. If I'm not in the mood, I can say no, I'm not in the mood, I'm not really into this, and that's okay. And there's not this whole story running in my head of, oh, he's not gonna love me, or our relationship is gonna go down the drain. And same thing, what you do in one area of your life shows up in all others, exactly like Amy just said. And so my ability to say no to other things outside of just the bedroom, outside of just sexuality, just things that make me feel uncomfortable, I don't want to do. So we're really excited. We just have a new program launching called The Sexual Self, where we're going to teach you all of these really powerful breathworks and techniques that we've been describing that has led us to some really powerful freedom, and we cannot wait to give it to you.
Yeah, and I think our goal and our mission with the Sexual Self is to not only rewire ourselves for pleasure and for joy and happiness, but to give people the tools so that you know how to constantly get back to where you want to be and lead a purposeful life, a connected life, a passionate life, and have it be solid and have it where you feel that you deserve it and that you're worthy of it and you know how to continue forward in your life instead of settling, instead of feeling disconnected, instead of getting parts of what you want and not that complete picture. And that's just not what we're here to be and to do. And so the Sexual Self is a really wonderful program that I'm really excited to share with you.
So you guys can find that information below this video in the description tab. You'll find the website and the link there where you can sign up. Our next round is going to launch December 15th with the launch after that January 15th. So we're so excited. We'll hopefully get to meet some of you soon. Namaste.